What's going on, everybody? This is the Style Boxing, and of course, be joined by the one and the only Cali X Boxing. How's it going, Alex?
Good, good. There it is, right by our names. And I'm
That's
looking
right.
forward to 4th of July. Let's get it popping. I got the feeling patriotic today. Got that Roy Jones USA 1988 shirt. So we
Cobra
rocking and
Kai over
rolling.
here. You know what I mean? It's all about Cobra Kai. Shout
That's
out to
right.
the Cobra Kai.
No mercy.
No mercy. We don't show mercy around here. You know what I mean? This is the 164th edition of Hispanics Causing Panic. This should be a really, really good one. Just a lot of things to talk about, a lot of things to tackle. Let's just start with last week. All right. Just the weekend, that is. A lot of things happened. But
Hmm.
before we get to the fights, Calix, we didn't get a chance last week to talk about it. But AJ versus Dubois, the two, you know, like Usyk should be proud as a father, right? That his two sons are about to fight and do something big in Wembley, right? But he
Hmm.
should also be like kind of disappointed with them that they got personal. They're almost going to throw down like at the little face off they did.
Yeah. I
What are
like
your
the
thoughts on
fight.
that?
I like the fight. To me, AJ has the the lengthiest resume, I would call it, of all the modern heavyweights, of all the heavyweights right now, top heavyweights right now. So he's strung together a good decade of fights, almost decade of fights. Fought top competition, probably fought the toughest competition overall of all the top heavyweights, and he continues to pile that on and continue his career. So he's on a nice little streak since the second Usyk loss. I thought he fought good. I thought he fought well in a loss in that second Usyk fight. Made some good adjustments, and Dubois is on a nice 2-fight streak as well. So I like this, and I thought he fought well against Usyk overall. So
Oh, yeah.
coming off the late knockout victory of Big Baby, coming off of this win against Hergovich, which many people thought he was going to lose. So I'm happy. I'm happy for both fighters. They're going to get a payday, and it's a good fight. And I think AJ stops him late.
Yeah, and you know what what I love about this Dubois kind of saga, this the story of his, it it, it destroys the whole idea that you need to protect the fighter, you need to protect the O,
Yep.
you need to coddle them and just wait for the right moment and don't be dumb and match them up tough because guess what? Dubois versus Joyce that were put in the ring. People thought Warren was crazy. Why would a promoter put two of his young up and coming guys, in there that could potentially be world champions? But he did, right? And Joyce got a little bit of a something like a bump out of it, and everyone kind of gave up on Dubois. Why? Because he lost. But guess what? He worked his way back up, and he was able to work his way up to a title shot against Usyk. We could say a lot about that, how he got there, but nonetheless, he got there. And then even after the loss to Usyk gave him a space. He said, "Daniel, you're young. You can still dream." And so he continued to dream. You know what I mean? And even though he was a favorite against Big Baby, a lot of people were low key thinking he may not handle that. Like the pressure of this guy talking trash to him and trying to bully him and
Hmm.
you remember Warren was like at the press conference like, Daniel, you can't allow this, Daniel. You got to stop this. Because Big Baby owned that press conference. When it comes to talking, he's probably
Yeah.
the best, right, at heavyweight, but not so much with the fighting part, but with the talking. He goes out there, he dominates that fight, and it wasn't even a matter of he's going to win. It's a matter of when he's going to knock this guy out. He did it last second. And then they put him in there with Hergovich, who's, I cannot stress this enough. Hergovich was not exposed as a fraud or something. Dubois just stepped up. That's what happened in that fight. That's what happens
Yep.
in heavyweight boxing. And Dubois, look at where he is now, Calix. After losing twice, here he is, Wembley. He's about to face Anthony Joshua. And he's been, I believe, elevated to IBF champion. So here we are. It's for the IBF belt. So I will say though, I just don't think the IBF is really needed for the magnitude of this fight. I just don't. But for whatever reason, AJ really wanted the belt to be on the line. So, and I think that's why we're here.
Yeah. Yeah, and he can say he's a 3-time champion, and then Usyk could always circle back if he wanted to get that belt and become undisputed twice, right? So we can always go in that circle. But I just like this is a positive about the Saudi experiment, right? Is guys can lose fights and then still be fine, perfectly fine. We saw that with Nick Ball getting a draw, right? And then he gets another shot. We see Ray Ford loses a fight, but he'll be back because people were at least entertained by him. Deontay Wilder gets a loss. He was right back. Zhilei Zhang gets a loss. He's right back. So it's fine. You lose fights. As long as you're fighting the fights, you lose the fights. Just bounce back as long as you're entertaining.
100%. Also, the pay-per-view numbers came out for Tank Davis against Martin. I'm hearing all types of things, Calix, but here's what people don't understand. Regardless of which numbers you believe, they're closer to 0 than a million. Okay?
Yeah.
So like, even if, because there's people like really fighting hard whether or not it did 300,000, but even if it did, that's not the face of boxing, especially with David Benavidez on your undercard. And I'm hearing numbers like 150, whichever numbers you believe. I think it puts to rest this face of boxing thing, in my opinion.
Yep, I agree as well. And now we're gonna get the propaganda that and nothing against him, but I saw Al Bernstein say something like, "There is no face of boxing. There's never been a no. There's a face of boxing, and it's an easy debate. It's still Canelo." Now that doesn't mean that Tank can't get it a couple fights from now, but he's gonna have to fight the fights. And I think that's the positive of this is the overhead is gonna get higher as Tank moves on, right? So eventually they continue to do this cheap B-side thing in order to cover the cost, and they don't have to do 1 million pay-per-view buys. They don't have to do 500,000 pay-per-view buys to make money. But David Benavidez has a high minimum as well, so I don't know if they made money on this pay-per-view or not. But the discussion becomes the market's starting to push back a little bit. Dan Raphael is also reporting, whether this is true or not, that Ryan versus Haney did 350 to 400,000. So these aren't the extravagant pay-per-view numbers that people were expecting coming off of Tank versus Ryan. So I think this is all good news that the market's pushing back on these pay-per-views. They're not buying them at the rate that the power brokers would like them to buy. Even Canelo, right? We expected Canelo versus Munguia to be over 1 million pay-per-view buys.
Not me, but yeah,
well, I did. I'll put myself in that. I did, and it didn't come close to it. So the market's starting to push back a bit, and the top fights are going to have to be fought now. When it comes to Tank, he's going to have to fight Lomachenko going forward. I would think anyway.
That's 100%. Right. I think you meant Bernard, not Boone. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
By the way, you guys can also listen to the show on Spotify and iHeart, and most audio platforms. This will be on there within 24 hours as well. So you guys can always listen on there as well. Shout out to that audience. We had pretty decent amount of listeners there. So shout out to them. You know what I mean? The audio audience matters. All right. And let us know how the audio sounds, by the way. We do want to make sure it's good quality. And I get that there's people out there that don't like this vertical, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? We're going to keep it for now. But here's what I'll say about the pay-per-view numbers really quick. Like, they're not bad, I guess. Let's say it's 300, just to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Those aren't bad numbers, but they are when you start once you start trying to claim things you're not, and like oh, I'm the face of boxing, and I certainly remember the whole like, oh, there's a new sheriff in town.
Mm-hmm.
Man, this sheriff ain't no good. Like this sheriff, I mean, sheriff's supposed to come in and wreck shop and take care of, like, change the game, and he didn't do anything. All he did was be inactive for over a year and like come back and do 300,000 buys.
Yeah,
that's not a new sheriff, brother. Okay. It just isn't. I do think Canelo Munguia didn't sell like people thought it would sell, because I think at this point, the power brokers, as you call them, are starting to break the fourth wall. They're starting to like talk out in the open about what fans want and how they're going to trick the fans and how they're going to sell things to the fans. And people aren't as stupid as people think, bro.
Yeah.
Like people know, yeah, they're just trying to sell this because it's Mexican versus a Mexican, and but then they start asking themselves, is Munguia really that good? What has Munguia? What has he really done? And like it's to me, that's why it didn't sell. It's my opinion. The fight that's going to sell, the only two fights that are going to do over $1 million for Canelo, because that's what the market is saying, is Benavidez and Crawford. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So the only fights are going to sell to that degree. Everything else, bro,
I
it ain't
hope
going to sell like
anyway.
that.
I hope anyway. I hope.
Well, I think it's more a matter of they're going to happen to me.
Yeah. You think they go
Make
over $1 million?
Benavidez Canelo's announced that thing will be trending on social media within minutes, brother.
Mm.
Right? Because that's the fight people want. People just want that fight. And when people are deprived of something they want, right? They end up wanting it. So if you remember, Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia was first announced, remember, and then they turned around, they decided not to do it, and they let people kind of wanting it, and then they kind of waited, and then when they finally gave it to people, I guess it sold. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't sound like you're optimistic that Benavidez Canelo does over $1 million.
Well, I think it was either you or B brought up this point that it's not addition, it's multiplication, right? So the thing is, Tank, his
Yes.
ceiling seems to be somewhere between 200, 300. Ryan's numbers have gone back. I mean, this is only Ryan's second pay-per-view, I believe, right? So his numbers have gone down, if you believe the reporting, 350 to 400, whatever it is. So, but if you believe the numbers, which I don't believe that Tank versus Ryan did over 1 million pay-per-view buys. But if you do, then even if you say 800,000, then it becomes some sort of multiplication, then addition, right? So that
Right.
sort of thing. So Canelo Benavidez could be the same thing. The thing that I worry about is Benavidez's team. It just seems so inept to me as far as marketing, PR, a vision, some sort of vision for this guy. It just seems to be all about Canelo. So the concern for me is they have him on an undercard right now. He's fighting on Tank's undercard, and the pay-per-view buys don't do that well. So it just doesn't seem like this build is good for
Okay.
Canelo Benavidez. So if it does happen, I was optimistic for a long time. It does 1.5 million pay-per-view buys. I'm not so optimistic about that anymore.
I just
The good news is
disagree.
that doesn't matter as a consumer, right? Because I just want the fight. It doesn't matter if it makes money to me or not. But I'm not as optimistic that does over 1 million pay-per-view buys that I was before.
Yeah. Here's what I'll say. Juan Manuel Marquez by himself did 50,000 or so with Casa Mayor.
Yeah.
He did all his other fights are basically on free TV. All right. He did decent ratings on HBO. He never like broke records or nothing like that. But people wanted to see the Pacquiao fights. So when he fought Pacquiao at third time, he did over $1 million. Right. And to me, like whether you and I agree with this or not, or the general public out there believes that Canelo doesn't want to fight Benavidez.
Yeah.
That's
It's a
that's the
perception.
consensus, right? And if they don't believe it's going to happen, yeah, pundits saying that it's not going to happen. Whether we agree or disagree, there's going to be people predicting Benavidez to win. And for the first time in a while, going into a Canelo fight. When's the last time we went to a Canelo fight and at least 40% of people or so were predicting the other guy to win?
Yeah.
Hasn't been since Golovkin.
Hmm.
Even the Bivol fight, like he was like a 6-1 favorite.
Yeah, I think there were a good percentage of people that hopped on the Mel train going into the Canelo fight that were a bit disappointed. Um,
Yes.
I want to address this
Sure.
though when it comes to this, and I think we're all tired of talking about this, right? But um, when it comes to Benavidez, the Canelo fans need to realize, and we're Canelo fans, that he doesn't have to bend over backwards and kiss Canelo and his team's butt and be super nice publicly
Of
to get
course.
this fight. That's ridiculous when people say that, like that type of stuff. I don't have no problem with him doing the duck shirts and stuff like this, but this is one thing I got to say about the Benavidez team, and it continues. Lunatune Boxing, he didn't get credit for that's clearly they jacked his art to make those Benavidez shirts. They clearly did it, and that's distasteful right there. Whether Benavidez knows that or not, but that's Luna Tune Boxing's art, and that's sad. And also Benavidez's team, once again, the sad part about this is Nando has brought this up. He could have been a star without Canelo. And it's just sad that his whole attraction, his whole aura seems to be Canelo. And that's sad to me. I just think he could have been a standalone star without Canelo. But this whole time, their whole vision, the past 3 to 5 years has been Canelo, Canelo, Canelo. And it just doesn't work because you're reliant on Canelo actually fighting you. And we can have this debate. Canelo should fight him. Canelo, and he should. I'm with you, but you shouldn't be that reliant on that fight to become a star.
Yeah, but I guess just to give a little bit of pushback here, what is a top dude like? You're supposed to want to fight the man in your division. You're supposed to want him to fight you.
Yes,
you're supposed to call him out. There's no like.
But you have to do work at the same time.
But he is doing the work. He is doing.
Is he?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Last year was a good year. It was a good year.
100%.
But he bounces back after that, and he fights in the 6th month of the year against Vodzik, who nobody was calling for that fight. D-Style. Nobody was calling for that fight.
But Canelo isn't fighting him. So who is he supposed to fight?
Morrell Jr. for one. He can stay in the division. He can stay in the division that Canelo's in and make it clear.
Look, I agree with that. But then Canelo's fighting Jermell, who nobody called for. Exactly. Like they're all doing it. So like he's supposed to call him out. He's supposed to call him a chicken and you're ducking me in here. He's supposed to do all that. I just don't agree that his whole identity is Canelo because he's calling out Canelo.
What's the market saying, D-Style? What's the market saying?
He's supposed to call out Canelo is what I'm saying.
No, I agree with you. That's what I said. 100%. He should be calling out Canelo.
After the second fight with Pacquiao, everyone kept saying, "Oh, well, why is Marcus obsessed with Pacquiao? Can he make his own lane? Why is he obsessed with this guy? Why?" And you could have said the same thing. What's the market saying? I mean, he only did 50,000 against Casamayor, right? Mm-hmm. But the market we're really saying is that's the fight we won. You want to talk about the market? How about only 500,000 buys for Canelo? That is a down for him.
Yes.
Canelo did $1 million with Chavez Jr.
Yeah.
Right? So what I am saying is that no side here is looking good.
I'm in a complete agreement.
But if my issue with the Benavidez side has been the inconsistencies. Yes. Apologizing to Canelo 1 week and then going after him the next week. But they kind of stopped that around sometime last year. And they have had a consistent, we want to fight Canelo, right? Because he's the
interim belt 175, interim belt 168. So this is the thing, D-Style. I'm in agreement with what you said. Neither side is looking good. But here's the problem that the Benavidez team has is Canelo has Crawford. And it looks like Canelo's going to fight tune-up than Crawford and make $1 gazillion to fight Crawford. And guess what the market's going to do if he fights Crawford? The market's going to gravitate towards that fight, and Benavidez is going to be the guy without the prom date. So what I'm saying is Canelo has options, another option.
Canelo's prom date, if the rumors are true, it's going to be Berlanga.
No, before the Bud fight, D-Style, if he fights Bud, then I'm telling you what the market's going to do. It's going to be all is forgiven. Canelo versus Bud. Bud is a huge threat to Canelo. That's what's going to happen. The market's going to gravitate towards that fight. The problem that the Benavidez team has had over the years is they're putting all their eggs in this one basket. And
but this basket has all the eggs.
I agree with that. Listen to me. That's good. Call him out. Call him a duck. All that stuff. And part of that's fair. Canelo should fight him, right? He's number 2 at 168. He should fight him. We're both there. We think he should fight the fight, but this is the problem. 2 of the past 3 fights, he doesn't get stoppages, right? So there's this detachment from the market because you're pitching him as this monster, and he didn't look like a monster against Plant. He didn't look like a monster against Vodzik. So the market is looking at this and saying this aura minus Canelo. It doesn't add up.
A couple of things. You mentioned Morrell, right? He could have fought Morrell. Mm-hmm. But as of right now, as it stands, it looks like Canelo's going the Bud route. That's what it's looking like to me,
Yeah.
right? So why would he stay at 168 and fight Morrell?
We'll go to 175 and fight the winner of Bivol better Biev then.
But he can't fight him right now because they haven't fought yet. So in the meantime, he fought Vajdik, who I think is a credible opponent.
So fight the next top guy at 175.
Is Vajdik credible? Is he credible?
Vajdik? No, I don't think so.
You don't think Vajdik is credible?
He's an okay. He was retired for 3 years. You knew my opinion going into that fight. I'm not changing. You knew. What did I say in the roundtable before? I said he's washed up. That's what I said. And he looked washed up in the fight to me. He couldn't take advantage of Benavidez being sloppy second half of the fight. I don't want to make this a whole Canelo Benavidez thing. All I'm saying is there needs to be clear messaging here, and it's not adding up to me. It's not adding up to me because minus Canelo, he's not the guy they're pitching to me. He's just not.
No,
I understand stylistically, he's.
I hear what you're saying, but I keep hearing, and not just you, but maybe he's just not that good. He's easy work. He just doesn't look like a monster. But why not just make the fight? Take care of business. Wipe the floor with him, and we're done.
I'm with you.
Because here's my thing, right? That was the fight to do in September.
Yeah, I agree.
Like that's what I'm thinking about. But now we're talking about perhaps Berlanga, and I get it. But is to do it at the end of the yellow brick road, and I get it. Like, you know what I mean? It's I'm not saying I don't understand that, right? But I'm not thinking as a Canelo fan at the moment. I'm not even thinking as a Benavidez fan because I like both guys. What I'm thinking about is as a boxing fan, I want that fight.
We both like weight class business, right? So we want to see 1-2. We want to see 1-2 at 168. We want to see Bud stay at 154 for a while and handle business there. Maybe Boots steps up to 154. That's what we want to see.
So if he would have stayed at 168, fought Morrell, right?
Yeah.
And Canelo still doesn't fight him, then what are we doing? Because Canelo has all the belts.
Then he's gonna have to fight the next top guy. Look, it is what it is. D-Style, I'm with you. At that point, D-Style, we have to start having the conversation.
I just feel like there's no point for some people where they would say, "Hey, Benavidez is doing everything he can," right? Like because I thought he had a great year last year, right?
No, I disagree with that because we're all there. We're there. So I think the conversation needs to start that we need to start having now is, okay, WBC strip them. And then, okay, now maybe if Benavidez stays at 168, mows down Morrell Jr. and whoever, we put him number 1 at 168 now and put Canelo at number 2, right? If you're the hunter, you got to just keep hunting. I don't know I'm not going to sit back and feel sorry for these young American fighters who for years were just sitting around not doing much. Let's be honest. They're just not doing much.
What I will not argue with, and people have heard me say this, it's not but the Benavidez, Plant, Billy Joe Saunders, Smith were all reigning world champions. They were all undefeated. A pair of each were with the same promotional outfit, and they did not fight each other. They did not unify. They were not about fighting the best then. They didn't care about the fans then. And Canelo did wreck shop in under a rolling year, and it would have been in 9 months if it wasn't for the PBC's, trying to get Canelo on a long-term contract to fight Plant. But my point is this. I get all that, and I know that's a lot of what Nando's referring to. Right. I also get that Benavidez missed weight, and that was his doing. Canelo didn't make him. Canelo wasn't giving him cupcakes, before his fight. You know what I mean? Like that, you miss weight, right? But I feel like he's done his time, and I feel like he's done the things that I asked the fighters to do to earn a Canelo fight.
He's done the bare. He's done the bare minimum. We said that last year.
Yeah, but there's fighters that are not doing anything.
I agree. And I agree. And when people say, "What does Benavidez bring to the table?" and you go to the same thing, right? It's we say, "What does Ryder bring to the table?" Those are good fighters. What does Mel bring to the table? What does Munguia bring to the table that Benavidez doesn't? The answer is none, right? So if the economics work, you got to fight the fight. You just have to fight the fight. So I'm with you. Neither side looks good right now. Neither side looks good. And Canelo has to take blame for 168, 1 and 2 not fighting. But at the same time, he's done the bare minimum. He's not doing anything special to me. I watch Benavidez fight, and I'm with you. I watch Benavidez fight, and I'm saying, I wish Canelo would just fight the fight because I don't see it. I don't see what everybody's seeing. I don't see it. So I wish you would just fight the fight. Who cares? Maybe Canelo sees something else. I don't know. But he's doing the bare minimum. I don't see Benavidez, and I don't see that this guy will ever be a top 10 pound for pound guy or anything like that. I just
also
he's good. He's good.
One more thing before we move on. I'm just not impressed with the Mexican Monster nickname. If anybody else other than Mike Tyson presented that nickname, everybody would have laughed and been like, "Oh, what? You put Mexican in front of Monster?" Like, ah, ha, ha, ha. I don't know.
Red Flag's a great nickname too. They should have just stuck with that. That's a great nickname.
Red Flag. It sounds very Spanish, but yeah, I got you.
It's great. You ever been to the beach and a red flag goes up and you're like, danger, danger.
Yeah. I like the nickname, but there's people that want everything to be cool and like, oh, Monster, yeah. Like Canelo, like if we just got used to Canelo, but does it really sound all that great? Like Canelo. Like,
Nando calls him White Flag. I hate this topic so much. I wish this fight would just happen.
Let's move on. Teofimo Lopez, Calix.
Yeah.
It's weird because he landed the most punches of his career. He was throwing.
Yeah.
He won virtually every round. Yet I was watching the fight and I was just underwhelmed watching this fight. How did you see it?
So were you super impressed with this performance?
I'll be honest, no.
I thought it was mid. Like, and you texted me. I forgot about that. You texted me after the fight saying the same thing. I was watching it. I lost interest, to be quite honest. I thought Claggett was there for Teofimo to have this excellent performance. I thought he was made to order for, and Top Ranks matchmakers, I believe, put Claggett in there for a reason. And Bob Arum clearly looked disappointed after the fight, and I think because he expected the same thing that we expected. Look, that was the one bet that I missed on Saturday night because I expected Teofimo to show out. It was that trend, right? And he was trending to have an up performance in this fight. And you're going to hear from the Teofimo super fans that Claggett has a great chin. Claggett is a tough cookie, right? And, Claggett is undestroyable, indestructible. And the truth of the matter is the guy throws a lot of punches. There were wide openings in this fight for Teofimo to land some huge shots that were going to knock Claggett down multiple times. And it never happened. So I left disappointed with Teofimo. And I hate to say this, man, because there was so much promise at one point that he's sort of become one of those, we used to call him DVR fighters. Like, yeah, I'll catch him later on tonight or tomorrow morning. But if stuff is going on, I'll just gravitate towards the stuff. If I have something to do, I'll go do it. I don't need to stay home and watch Teofimo. And that's where I'm at with him right now. If I catch him, I catch him. I'll eventually catch the fight, but I don't need to catch it live. And that's where we are with Teofimo. I just think there was a lot of promise there that's not being realized in just another mid performance. It was just like, I didn't even want to talk about it after the fight. I didn't tweet about it much.
It was just an underwhelming, like the whole thing. Like,
it wasn't bad. It's just like this is it.
Well, here's the thing though. Like the entrance was too extravagant to do it in front of 4,000 people. Like it was just, it's like, I don't know, man. It was just too much. Like, okay, cool, whatever, right? And then it just I see the talent. I see, Claggett's trying, the efforts there. It's just there was just some spark missing. Like there was something about the Bam Gallo fight, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Yeah.
That there was just something in that fight, like an aura in the air that you could get into and you enjoyed, that this fight was missing, right? And maybe because it's Claggett, I don't know, but it just seems to me like it just wasn't the best performance. And even though, again, and I know a lot of Teal fans are like, "What do you mean you won every round? What do you guys want?" Like, I'm not talking about how I scored it, bro. I'm not talking about how I did any of that. I'm just saying I wasn't all that. You know what I mean, right? And one more thing, why is the guy like? There's this gloom and doom attitude he has about the sport when things aren't going his way, right? Like he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm the last star y'all have, so you better enjoy me while I'm here." And it's just like,
Yeah.
yo, you ain't that big of a star like that, brother.
No.
You know what I mean? You're just not. It's just I don't know what you're talking about. He's always here talking about how like Matchroom is in peril and that they're gonna fall apart. Like Matchroom just had a more exciting event than yours this past weekend.
Yep.
Right? I'm just saying, bro. You know?
Yeah, it's just, and another thing that's obvious at this point, because we have enough data that before we get to super chats, but we have enough data that he's not a puncher at 140 the way he has at 135. He's still explosive. He can still keep guys honest, but he would ice guys at 135 that he can't do at 140.
Yeah,
We
but
have
it's
enough.
one weight class. You can't carry the punch like this. 5 pounds.
And I think he's a 20% KO percentage now at 140. So the problem with that is he's talking about 147. He's
Well,
talking
because
about
there's
one of these
something going
guys.
on, Alex. Something's going on. Like I don't think it's that. 5 pounds? He can't carry his punch.
Yeah, but we saw Haney against Ryan. So can Haney take? It's just 5 pounds, but can he take punches from 140 pounders that he was able to take at 135? But the
I
Linares
guess.
fight happened. I don't
Yeah,
know.
What I'm
You're right.
saying is
You're right.
this:
It might be something else
when
going
a
on.
dude could punch, right? Like Roberto Duran was a puncher at 135, right?
Mm-hmm.
When it went to 147, he wasn't the same puncher, but he could still crack.
Yeah.
Like you still have to respect his power. When he went up to like 168, dudes were saying, "Yeah, that dude could punch."
I
Right?
think they still respect Teofimo's power, but it's different when you can't finish the fight if it's not going your way. And I agree with who was it that took God, my mind just went blank. Took Timothy Bradley's spot Saturday night.
Oh
But
yeah,
anyway, Chris
who
Algieri.
did a far better job in my opinion.
I disagree. I'm not an Algieri fan, but the thing that he said after the fight that I agreed with was that Teofimo needs to stay at 140 instead of moving to 147. And I think what these guys do, the young American fighters have gravitated towards this move, I feel, is they want to hop weight classes in hopes of scamming the market to feel like, look at all the belts I have in different weight classes, when in reality they take easier fights at a weight class north in order to avoid a tough fight in a weight class that they're currently in.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised to see him try to make a move where he tries to pick off a belt at 147 against a weaker champion and act like Boots Ennis doesn't exist. And he's calling out Bud because he knows Bud's moving up to 154, and now there's multiple weight classes separating them. I want to see him stay at 140 and try to collect belts, because as mid as he looked, I still think he can win some of these unification fights. I think he can, but he's got to try to stay there and do it.
So shout out to Drew, and he says, glad people are sending the pivots and swerves from Garcia and Bam on Junto. Robert's little tweet, LOL, he's pressed. LOL, at Junto needs to catch up. Huh? And I did my research during your while you were breaking down the whole deal thing, and I found it. What's going on here, Cal? What's going on with the
I was just trolling on Twitter, and
Look, Garcia was giving you a shout out. You know what I mean? I'm saying.
And I threw Drew's name out there, and Robert Garcia responded to it. But Drew seems to think that Bam is carefully maneuvering weight classes that Junto is no longer in.
Nobody
And
told
I
Junto
think
to
that,
leave.
yeah, I think that's a reach. I like both fighters. I want both fighters to be successful, and I think that's a late 2025, early 2026 fight, because I'm gonna stay consistent here. I like weight class business. I want to see, even though it's only one weight class apart, only 3 pounds, right? I want to see Bam consolidate belts at 150, 15, or at least try, and Junto do the same thing at 118, and then we'll get to that fight. That's what I want to see.
Well, it's right there. So I just showed everybody. People go to X there. This is what Robert said we before we move on. You know you're doing a good job when right after you beat the lineal champ in your division, the first thing they say is, "What about this guy? Unified IBF and WBO flyweight world champion and lineal super flyweight world champion. Let me know when the rest of these guys catch up." This is all This is like preach. I'm about to faint. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. All right. I'm just saying. Shout out to Drew. I'll play this one for Drew.
Man, that nigga was that Japanese guy was in shape.
You know, Junto's in shape. You know what I mean? So, shout out to anyway. So that's the, shout out to Drew again. When will the zone ask Golden Boy to cut Ryan after today? Carlos, have you seen Ryan's rant today?
I did. I stumbled upon it.
He's talking about. I'm not even going to
ugly.
repeat. I'm not even going to say the things he's saying.
That's some
Like, he's
ugly
talking
stuff.
about things that were done to him and what he saw. And like, bro, like, what are we doing, Ryan?
Yep. And look, we all know how this ends, right? We all know how it ends. We all know that. And if you don't know yet, you should know that money magnifies. I've seen it in my life. Money magnifies. If you don't work out your problems before you have money,
Callis is still a nice guy and he's rich. You know what I mean? Like, he's still a cool dude. I'm just saying.
But I'm telling you, and when you throw fame into the picture, that's only more gas you're throwing on the fire. Fame on top of the money. Good Lord. So he's just a dude who wasn't prepared for it, D-style. And I think the root of it is he clearly has some parents who maybe tried to be his friends when he was growing up and didn't parent him well. And there are a lot of issues there that we're all seeing play out right now. And look, you content creators out there who are still doing this thing where y'all want to try to go for these Ryan Garcia casual fans that are around and try to get a bunch of them in your tent. Good luck with that, because y'all looking crazy out here, number one. And number two, those dudes are going to be gone. They're not going to be around when you're not talking about Ryan Garcia. So y'all looking crazy. Y'all looking crazy out here capping for this guy.
Like right now, like
this dude's a lunatic.
You're gonna bring up Robert Garcia. You're gonna be who? How's that? His uncle or what? Like, you know, they're not gonna know what the hell you're talking about. So
have you ever seen a dude get arrested? I'll ask this question again, with a motorcycle helmet on and there's no motorcycles around. I've never seen it. I've never seen.
He had the motorcycle helmet indoors.
Yeah, then he's a lunatic. He's an absolute lunatic,
and he's destroying things. Like what? And then he's tweeting out like, oh, the guys are keeping me here. They're he's implying it like torturing them, but like, bro, you're tweeting. What are we doing? Like, but anyway, I don't even want to. I don't know what they're gonna do with Ryan. Oscar can't cut. Like, he can't. Like,
he ain't gonna make it.
Oscar don't got nobody, bro. Like Canelo just beat up his other dude, Munguia. He's got nothing. You know what I mean?
Virgil. He's got Virgil. All I'm saying, no, he's got Williams Zepeda this weekend. But what I'm saying is, Ryan, he ain't gonna make it. Ryan's not gonna make it. This ends terribly. It ends terribly, and I pray that it doesn't.
Did you see him like quote tweet his dad, be like, "Oh, my dad's wrong. I'm not doing that. My dad apologized." Like, okay, whatever, bro.
It's not gonna end. It's gonna end tragically, and I hope it doesn't. But that's my prediction. It's all gonna end tragically.
Shout out to Drew for that.
Man, that nigga was that Japanese guy was in shape.
I still can't get over that dude that was impressed with anyway being in shape. Like, this is
UFC taking over Mexican fight dates, baby. What do you think of that? What do you think about that, by the way?
Look, like obviously, they did an event last year. I don't think the event last year had any buzz. He has to put in a sphere to create something out of it. But Alex, off the top of your head, who's headlining the card?
I don't know any UFC fighters, so I don't know.
And Calix is rich and knows everything. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying. But look, they're doing their thing, bro. Like, I'm not a UFC hater, bro. They're doing their thing, and they're giving their fans what their fans are want, and they're making their fans happy.
You've
Shout
always
out to
watched.
them.
You've always watched and respected UFC. I got to give you that.
Yeah, like
I'm not a fan at all. I'm just not.
look, I don't like it as much as boxing, if I'm honest. But there's certain fighters I think are like John Jones fights I'm watching. You know what I mean? If I'm not a big fan of McGregor, even though he's the most popular one. But my point is this: I just I just believe this. I don't think the success or failure of UFC has any influence on boxing. If anything, I think it pressures boxing to do better things. Right now, if boxing doesn't deliver to its fans, then it doesn't deliver to its fans. If boxing has nothing to offer in September, right, then it is what it is. You know, we talked about like the guy that shows up, sticks up his hair, and gives a girl the flowers and what she wants and treats her better. Then it is what it is. You can't complain. So
I knew when Turkey Al Sheikh was involved in this event with Dana White, I knew the Canelo, and I said it at the time, the Canelo Mexican Independence Day weekend thing is done this year. It's not happening. Because I think if and I could be wrong about this, but if Canelo versus Benavidez or Canelo versus Bud happens, Turkey Al Sheikh has to be involved. Because this whole thing, and not to get to this topic again, but a real quick point, the whole Canelo demanding 200 million and then Canelo saying, Bud's too small for me. That's all public negotiation. And he's speaking indirectly through the public to Turkey Al Sheikh. And Turkey Al Sheikh rebutted the Canelo Benavidez thing with, I would rather make Canelo versus Bud than Canelo versus Benavidez. He said that publicly, not to Canelo, but he said it publicly. That was his rebuttal, that I want to make Canelo versus Bud over Canelo versus Benavidez. So I knew the Mexican Independence Day weekend was out the window, seeing all that.
I will say this about Turkey, not that I want to put any negatives out, because I think he's been great for the sport, obviously, but he does tend to have his favorites, and I think it's very obvious.
And Bud's one of them.
And Bud's one of them.
And that fight's not selling well in LA. It's not. But he's got a hard on for Bud. He does.
Yeah, because he's putting Bud in the ring with somebody nobody knows.
Yeah. And
whether we like it or not, as sad as this, Bud just isn't that big name like that.
He's not.
Just isn't.
And that's unfortunate. I've been a fan his whole career, the whole guy's career.
He should have gotten the spark from a Spence fight 3-4 years ago.
Yep.
Like the fact that it took that long. Did you see that graphic when they're like, "Oh yeah, Bud, look at Bud and Spence. They're two of the longest reigning welterweight champions of all time." Like, well, it's not like an accomplishment, bro, because they were only fighting once a year.
Yeah, and another quick point is when Tito and De La Hoya fought, Tito moved up a weight class and fought for a title like 5 months later. De La Hoya fought like 6 months later and then fights Mosley 9 months later. These guys, when they do something special now, they just squander all of the momentum. They do. Bud, it's going to be over a year before he fights again. It's going to be a little over 12 months, a couple of days over 12 months before he fights again after the Spence thing. And you can blame all kind of things, all kind of obstacles, but it is what it is, man. You got to make something happen. Same thing with 100%. Tank. Tank beats Ryan and you go 14 months. Doesn't help that the dude climbed on a booster seat and hit a pregnant woman with the car. But 14 months is 14 months. It's too long. Too long.
No, for
Shout out to Nando. Shout out to Nando Yamas.
Yeah, shout out to Nando. What does this even mean? Do you know what that means? USA, I think. I think that's what that means. Well, because it's 4th of July or
4th of July. I think that's a 4th of July shout out. Shout out to Nando.
All right, shout out to Nando. Yeah, sure.
I'm a hard-working man.
Shout out to Nando for sure. All right.
He might be working on 4th of July. That's how hard working he is.
He's a hard-working man.
I'm not for marination. I'm not for look. Can you marinate?
Calix Ellerby. What's up, Calix Ellerby? What's going on?
He's calling me Leonard Ellerby.
That's the worst thing you could call you too. This is hilarious.
That's not marination. They're in two separate weight classes. Can this guy? He has a belt, and then this guy is going to have two belts. And Ioka, like if Ioka if Ioka wins this weekend, and he could lose, that's a tough fight. He could lose that fight, but can the guy fight for 3 belts in the weight class? Can he fight a unification fight? And can he try to become undisputed in his weight class? That's not marination. And Junto, you got 4 Japanese champions at 118. Can Junto handle Japanese weight class business? And then we get to the fight. That's not marination. If they were 1 and 2 in the same weight class, like we got going on at 168, that's marination. That's marination.
Junto's over here doing his best Canelo impersonation. Like, I don't want to fight other Japanese fighters. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what's going on over here? You know, take care of your domestic business, and then we'll talk about that. All right?
Wow. Wow.
Man, that nigga was that Japanese guy was in shape.
That's right. Hey, by the way, something that I heard be said a lot, and I think it's true. I think there's more money for Bam over in Japan. There just is. So I think Phoenix is cool and all, but it's just not going to give them the type of money there's in Japan. So there's, in all fairness, there's a lot of money to be made over there. Okay. Shout out to
don't read that. Don't read that one. Shout out to Drew 999 super chat. We talk Calix.
No, we got to read it. We got to read it, but it is what it is. That's the rule. It's a super chat. You know what I mean? Hey, look, if YouTube wouldn't allow it, it wouldn't even pop up if they didn't allow. I'm just saying. Ryan Garcia can't even be a man and just do what Aaron Hernandez and Robin Williams did. I guess what I don't know what the other guy did, but just be a comic. He did. He went. I'm playing stupid right now, but he went to the, you know, he was trying to do jokes and stuff at the comic strip, and what did Aaron Hernandez do for a living? That's true.
The Aaron Hernandez was the football player that.
Yeah, like he did play football. He put on a helmet. He went to hotels and destroyed things. So I'm gonna go that route. That's what he's talking about, and we'll leave it at that. Shout out to Drew, of course, and all
we
that.
Talked, TKO, the UFC parent who owns into is working with the Saudis to get all the combat sports under the umbrella with the boxing league, then sell TKO to Saudi, and then manage all entities. Look, I'm still interested in this boxing league. Very interesting.
Look, if we get to the point where all everybody's just kind of has to talk about like, oh, this fight this weekend, who's going to win, and that's the main topic of everything. Yes. I'm down, because nowadays everything is, why would he do that? You think he's stupid? You think he's only going to take 40 million? Like, I don't think people understand how these fighters sound. Like when Teofimo telling Bill Haney, give us 20 million, we'll make the fight. Like 20 million. Mm-hmm. Holy shit, bro. Like, what's going on right now? So I just think the market needs a lot of self-correcting. And I'm going to tell you right now, Calix, when we're talking about the hard reset, like a year and a half ago, I don't think even you expected like a dude like Turkey out of to just show up.
No way.
Like, and just like, okay, I got a reset for you. And it's,
yeah. I didn't expect that at all.
And I'll say this, if we had an actual, like a legitimate league, if things were running the way UFC runs them, right? Last weekend, we wouldn't have 2 fight cards separate to each other, okay? Yeah. Bam Gallo would have been like the main event. Teo would have been on the pre-main, and he would have been fighting like a better opponent, right? And then this coming weekend, we would be getting Zepeda versus Shakur. We wouldn't be getting them in these 2 little glorified tuna fights, right? Like, that's the reality. So it is what it is. Andre, before anything, it was a generous super chat, so Feliz Navarrete. You know what I mean? Feliz Navarrete. Feliz Navarrete. That's right. Shout out to, let's go ahead and get this one before we proceed. Andre Rodriguez, he says, shout out to Usyk for beating the industry fight by fight. That's my take. You're on mute. I can't hear you anyway. You guys hear you might have to jump off and jump back in. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened to Calix there. You know what I mean? It's weird. I think Feliz Navarrete knocked his mic out of the thing. I don't know what happened. You know what I mean? I don't know. So look, let's go ahead and keep it moving here. A lot to talk about, guys. And I'll start off with the Bam Rodriguez's performance here because we haven't touched on it. Bam went out there. I expected him to win, and I expected him to win clearly for sure. And I expected a late round stoppage, but I'll be honest, I did think Gallo was going to put up a better fight. Two of the judges, one of them had a draw, the other one had Estrada winning. I don't know how. No idea. But I just don't know. Because Gallo was just hanging on for dear life in some of those rounds. Round one was close. I gave it a Bam, but it could have gone either way. And then after that, I just think like Bam took over. And Gallo was hanging in there at times, very competitive at times, but for the most part, it was all Bam. There was I forgot what round it was. I think it was round 4. Like Gallo was just hanging on for dear life. It's like his experience is the only thing that kept him alive in that round. He kind of got back in the fight, got a big knockdown, and Bam responded with flying colors. He got up, dusted himself off, went back to doing his work, went back to doing his thing. And I felt like it was a brilliant performance by Bam. And I'm gonna just say this: if Bam Rodriguez was a welterweight, if he was a middleweight, if he was a light heavyweight, people would already have a number 1 power pound. They just would. When people talk about, is Bam there yet? Is he up there with the top? Yes. 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 Bam is in discussions with Crawford, with Usyk, with Canelo. The answer is yes. Oh, but not yet. Is he as accomplished? No, but that's not pound for pound is not a career accomplishment list. That's not what pound for pound is. It doesn't mean you don't consider it, right? But pound for pound is right now, this moment, July 4th, 2024. Where do you rank amongst the best in the sport? He is top 5 easy. And if somebody had it, as crazy as it sounds, if somebody wants to argue 1 through 3, I'm good with it. I'm good with it. He is there. Okay. And they were talking about Crawford being number 1 pound for pound after wins over Gamboa. Like, I'm just saying. And there's people out there saying things like, "Oh, I don't think he's as good as Tank." Give me a break. I think he's there, Calix. And what do people use against him? Well, he was a favorite going into the fight because people know he's that good. That's why. Oh, but Gallo was old. Gallo was the reigning champion. It wasn't a former world champion or like this isn't Vajnik he just beat. That's what I got to say about that. He's there. I have him number 4 on my pound for pound list. Although my pound for pound list doesn't include heavyweights, but that's not here nor there. And that's how I see it, Calix. How do you see it?
Same. I have him number 4 on my pound for pound list. And I think he's in that discussion. So I have tiers 2 in my pound for pound list. And I have him the top of tier 2. I have tier 1 right now, Usyk, in a way, Bud, just because of I do think you're absolutely correct that it's a snapshot. So recency bias is going to come into play because you're looking at the 10 best fighters right now. That's what it should be. But you bring into I bring into my formula equity, resume,
Sure.
what they built up, accomplishments, because I think that should matter if they're still looking like pound for pound fighters. If they're not anymore, then no, then a Lomachenko will fade out of a top 10 pound for pound list over time. A Chocolatito, they're not fighting as often. The performances don't look as otherworldly as they once did. So the thing about Bam is I'm with you that if he was a welterweight, we'd be having different discussions right now. But I'm high on the lower weight classes. I have him number 4. I think that's about where he belongs right now. And I think it's not a matter of if, but When he becomes a pound for pound king at some point, I think the only person who can stop him 118 South is Junto Nakatani. And that's eventually going to be a lower weight class super fight, right?
Which Bam
You
will
mentioned,
win.
yeah, I mean, it could. You mentioned Vodzik's name, and he's not beating a Vodzik, right? And that's what separates Bam from when I think of a monster and I watch Bam fight, I see it, right? And that's what I mean when I say, when people attach that Mexican monster, you brought it up earlier, to Benavidez's name, our expectations go somewhere else. We expect not only winning, but we expect a phenomenal performance. We expect a terror in the ring. We expect this guy to stop people and destroy people. And that's what Bam's really doing. That's what Bam's doing. So performance is part of it. It's not just whether you're winning or losing. If you want to build that base, if you want to build an organic relationship with good old nature boxing fans, you have to put on those performances as well. And when I watch Bam fight now, it's like, oh, I'm going to a Bam fight. When I watch Bam fight now, it's must-see TV, and it's put the kids to bed, and tell the wife, leave me alone. Bam's fighting. If Teofimo's on the other TV, guess what? The TV's off. I don't even want the distraction. Bam is on. It's footwork. It's lateral movement. It's the highest offensive efficiency in the sport. He's the best offensive fighter in the sport. And here's the thing, statistically, he's one of the top 2 defensive fighters in the sport. He has the best plus minus in the sport, according to CopyBox. This guy is the complete package. And on top of that, he's entertaining. We've heard so many young American fighters say it without saying it, and some even go as bold as saying it, that I don't need to entertain the market. The market needs to come to me, and it's about winning and losing. It's about hit and don't get hit. I can't feed my kids' legacy, all this stuff, right? Bam doesn't say any of those things. Bam goes out there and he entertains. The reason I love the lower weight classes so much, these guys keep their hands free and fight on the inside. You get more of the actual sport. You get more of the throwback fighting, and Bam is one of those fighters. Did you count one clinch in Bam versus Gallo? I didn't count a single clinch. And that's why I'm appreciative of Gallo too. It's the guy fought the fight. He fought the young lion. He kept his hands free. He tried. He never gave up in the fight. He caught him with a good shot in 6th, 7th round, whatever it was. I believe 7th round. He ends up getting iced. But Bam's the truth.
Like they're doing everything at a faster pace, right? So I think people see the fast pace, and I honestly don't. And I've been saying this for years. I don't think a lot of boxing fans, because casuals are casuals, right? A lot of boxing fans that don't watch anything like south of featherweight, I just don't think they understand what they're watching. I just don't like. Because when they talk about it, like I hear things like, "Oh, they have no defense; they just throw."
Yeah.
No, they're throwing, catching, they're slipping.
Yeah.
No, but what I'm saying is that they're being offensive while they're being defensive all at the same time, right? Like Chocolatito's catching shots, he's catching, shooting, and you look at the stats, and it's like they're getting hit with like 30% of the punches. So they're making the other guy miss 7. So there is defense, right? The statistics percentage-wise are still sometimes even better than the higher weight classes, even though there's more action, even though there's more going on. It's fast speed chess. It's just faster. It's quicker. You got to think faster. Like that's the way it is.
It's not one. It's not 1 or 2 punches and clinch. 1 or 2 punches and clinch. It's 1 or 2 punches.
Which we got to get rid of, because like the clinching makes boxing boring. It turns people off. It hurts the sport. Nobody wants to watch it. And it's
count how many clinches you get this weekend with Shakur. Watch it. And there's no disrespect to Shakur. He's a special talent, but it's like, keep your hands free. Try to knock somebody out. That's why I value Bam. He wants to. Dude, the books were cooked against Bam. He was down on one scorecard, and it was a draw on the other. And Gallo at best won one round. Maybe you could
I
give him
touched on
two.
that. I can't believe that dude had Gallo winning.
But the thing is, Bam renders the judges useless. He takes it. He's like, these are my judges. Another thing, you brought up a good point that things are faster in the ring, but things are faster with their careers too. Another thing I value about the lower weight classes and Bam in particular is Bam's a microcosm of it. Is he's 24 and look at what he's accomplished already. He's accomplished more than all of these young American fighters that are in the middle weight classes. He's getting to things faster. You get to the point, you get to the truth quicker in the lower weight classes.
Oh, sure.
And it's a lost art now to have guys in their early to mid 20s in their actual athletic primes fighting legacy fights. We don't have that anymore.
Hey, shout out to Drew. He says Bam can retire and it's a Hall of Famer right now. Shout out to you. I appreciate the support there. And I agree. But we'll see. He has a long ways to go. You know what I mean? And I just think, Calix, that since people felt the results for Bam's fights at 115 were inevitable, he almost gets punished for being too good.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you were too big of a favorite in those fights, so why should I give you credit when the bookies had you like 4-1 favorite, right? Yep. But he still beat the top guys in that division, and it's because the bookies knew how good he was. That's why. Right? You can't punish a guy because it's not you can't lose to a big favorite, to a big underdog. Canelo was like a 6-1 favorite against Bivol or something like that. He still lost. You know what I mean? Valdez was a huge underdog going against Burchelt. He won. So it's not like these things can happen. The results in the ring are the results in the ring. He went out there. He was expected to dominate, and he dominated. Right? Against top opposition. Not against a Frank Martin. He's not fighting a dude that hasn't fought anybody. He's 30 years old, and that's the guy he's beating and doing that. He did that to Gallo Estrada. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. Gallo Estrada is that dude. He's a future first ballot Hall of Famer. All right? And I still think Gallo could be most of the guys at the top 10 right now, even at 34 years old. I think he beats just about all of them except maybe Ioka and Bam. So you could say whatever you want. That's who he beat. All right? So, and I don't think anybody at 112 can move up and be Gallo outside from Bam, who just did it. So you could say whatever you want. Like you could label it however you want, right? The results are the results. Now, what I will say is this. Bam, to me, I always saw it with my eyes, right? He passed the eye test. But he's that type of fighter that the better the opponent, the better he looks, not worse.
Yeah.
Better. He looks better when he steps up in competition.
Yep.
Right? And I thought he looked phenomenal. This was probably my favorite performance of his. I saw Gallo in the fight try different things, right? He's a veteran. He's been doing it for a long time. And I saw Gallo trying to set up the right hand in different ways. He even ended up catching him at one point, right? He was a little rusty at first, but Gallo got something going in those middle rounds of that fight. And I feel like his last resort was, okay, I'm going to make it a dogfight now. I'm going to go ahead and force this kid in exchanges. And I thought that was a mistake because he was getting outboxed on the outside, right? And Bam even said, like, yeah, the game plan was to box him on the outside, keep it on the outside because he can't really compete with me there. And I think when Gallo noticed that, he tried to close the gap. And he said to himself, okay, hey, I've been in there with like the Rat King. I've been in there with Chocolatito. I've exchanged punches with these dudes. So I'm going to take it there. And he did. And he paid the price for it, right? I'm not even going to call it a tactical error. What it was him just trying something else because what he was doing before wasn't working. All right. That was just a veteran trying different tricks, trying different things. Calix, after the fight, he said, I know what I did wrong. I'm going to correct it. And I want my get back. I can appreciate him wanting his get back.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the hell he could do to beat Bam.
He can't. He can't do it.
I don't know if it's just his pride talking. I don't know if eventually, like, but that's what it is, bro.
It's his pride. It's his pride speaking. And he needs to not listen to his pride. But the fight's gonna happen again. The fight's gonna happen again in the fall. I do
They'll
believe
probably
that.
end sooner.
And that's the Warrior hard speaking that no, I can make adjustments, but he can't. The the issue that Gallo had is it's not just youth, it's not just faster legs, faster hands. It's none of that. It's this guy was also the better boxer. He was also the superior boxer. So you even if you put everything into a vacuum and slow Bam down a little bit, Bam just stands in front of him and they go toe to toe. If you watch Bam, he's throwing feints at Gallo, and Gallo's reacting to him, and then Bam is countering off of the shots that Gallo's throwing off of Bam's feints. It's almost like he's playing chess. They're both playing high speed chess, as you said earlier, and Bam was always 1 or 2 steps ahead. So it's not only the youth, it's not only the athleticism, the power, it's the IQ. His IQ is right there with Gallo's. I watch him fight. It's right there with Chocolatitos. He's got that IQ.
He's got that IQ, and the thing is that you see, Gallo could have done what we see a lot of boxers do, just kind of go on survival mode when they kind of know they're not going to win the fight.
Yeah,
but that's not in Gallo. Like he's like, I'm going to try to find. I need to find a way to win here, and like what I'm doing right now isn't working, right? And he paid the price dearly. That body shot was brutal, bro. Oh, the brutal body. I knew it was over when he went down.
And that's why I love Gallo, is he has that in him. He's just a warrior, and I appreciate the old lion. I always love those fights, old lion versus young lion. I always appreciate the old lion for taking that fight, and be willing to hand off the torch. But the reason that I picked the stoppage in this fight, and people were telling me, warning me against it, don't do it, is I saw that in Gallo. Gallo is not going to go in survival mode. He's just not. And then Bam gets merciless. I use that word for him and Junto in particular. They're both, and that's why I love that potential matchup so much. They're both merciless, like just brutal fighters. They will destroy you.
You know what's crazy is like watching, like there's something brutal about the sport of boxing. Like there's something there's something to be said about like a man standing over another man, right? Like, and one is smiling, it's like the other guy's in this brutal pain on the ground, right? And someone who doesn't watch boxing might look at that and look at that as disrespect. They might look at that and be like, man, what is like, Bam has a lot of respect for Gallo, right? But that's just that's the sport. That's what we're watching, right? And just watching Bam with a big smile on his face, just walking over the body of a legend.
I know
it is a sight that you really only see this in combative sports. You'll really like, especially boxing, because of the last man standing nature of it, right?
There was almost like a look. I saw that look that you're talking about twice in the fight, and I think it backfired on him because that was in between round 6 and 7. I believe the knockdown was in round 7 when Bam got knocked down. Bam goes down in the corner and he's just giving that same look, that smile. Like it's almost as if he's kind of baffled by what he's doing, and he's sort of admiring his work. And Robert is almost looking at him like a proud dad or something. He's smiling down at him, and then he got caught with that knockdown. But after the knockdown, he ratchets it back up, right? And he gives that look, that smile, like, look at what I just did. Like, look at what I just did. And as a boxing fan, it's just there was nothing watching Bam versus Gallo. There was nothing negative to say about it at all, besides the scorecards. But take them out the equation. As far as the two fighters, there's nothing negative to say about any of it.
I tweeted out some of those rounds. Like Gallo was just trying to get out of the round.
Yeah,
this guy was giving him Gallo the rounds. I'm like, what's going on? It had to be a mistake, but no. And then the one round I gave Gallo, he knocked down. He scored a 10-9. What the audacity of this guy?
I know.
But look, I personally wouldn't mind. Look, people are calling for Gallo to retire. I just don't think that's accurate. I think Gallo could still compete with all the best. It's not Bam.
He could, but I'd be fine with him retiring too if he's got the money to do it. I don't know what his finances look like, so I'm not gonna.
I don't know, but I guess I'm just speaking from like a
competitive standpoint.
And he still compete with the best. Yes.
Yeah, he's still there. He's still there for sure.
Because people could say all they want, like, well, I don't think Ioka's going to be Bam either.
No,
like, so I don't think he does any better than Gallo did, quite frankly. But I could be wrong. But
Ioka's in a tough fight this week. Ioka's in a tough fight this weekend.
But let me ask you this: how do you think he does against Chocolatito? I think stylistically, Chocolatito could present some problems. They're familiar with each other because they spar each other. Although supposedly they don't want to fight each other because they're brothers. You know what I mean? Like non-blood brothers. But what do you think?
I think it plays out the same as Gallo. Same exact way. It's his IQ is there, so the boxing ability, he'll be what with Chocolatito at this point, and then the youth and the explosiveness is just gonna overwhelm Chocolatito. And I think it plays out the same way. I think he stops Chocolatito, as crazy as that sounds.
Yeah, I not that crazy. You know what I mean? So hey, shout out to Bam, man. He's doing his thing. Did you see ILTV on the round table when I asked him, what do you think of Bam? You know, where do you think he's at? He's getting there. You know, he's working his way up. Like, God damn. You should have seen my face. And his co-hosts too were like, man.
Some dudes are hard to please. They're hard
to
please.
Damn. Like, and he follows it up with like, come on, you really think he's done as much as Tank Davis? Like,
that's the thing too, is Bam has had the most of those of the American fighters. He's had the most of the I've arrived moments the past couple of years. 100%. And I think this was the ultimate I've arrived moment. You got to acknowledge me now. Some of you dudes didn't have me top 10 pound for pound, which is just weird that they didn't have him in the top 10 pound for pound, because I've been there for 3 or 4 fights now. But I'm here. You got to put me in a conversation now, and now he's in that elite conversation. I have him in the top of tier 2, but you can put him
you know what I think
1.
about, like when I think of Bam, like the movie Gladiator, when Maximus just throws the damn sword up at the crowd, and he's like, "Are you not entertained?
Mm-hmm.
Are you not entertained?" Like that's what he looked like, bro. He's walking around like, I mean, that ring is his, like, that's his playhouse, bro. Yeah. This dude's he's playing with legends in there, bro. This is amazing. Like, I don't think people understand the magnitude of what he's accomplishing here. And I'm not saying I'm going to blame the odds makers, but I do think what the odd makers are, like, the odds are kind of making people not really value what he's doing. I'm not even saying the odds were wrong, because obviously they weren't. But he beat 3 of the 4 kings of this division, bro.
Yep.
Like that's, and you could talk about age or whatever you want.
And if if the 4th king wins this weekend, which is a big if, I'm telling you, it's a big if. Ioka's fight is not a gimme this weekend. He could very much lose that fight, but he's gonna win. He's gonna win that unification fight against whoever wins that fight, despite who it is, and he's gonna have 3 belts in 2025 at least.
I acknowledge you, Bam. Alex, you acknowledge Bam Rodriguez?
Acknowledged, yeah.
Acknowledge him. Right? Hey, Drew, I don't know. Do you acknowledge Bam Rodriguez? All right? I'm going to start asking him that. You know what I mean? He's the excellence of execution. I tweeted, I think Bret Hart is the excellence of execution. The best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. I think when it's all said and done, he might just be. I know that Finito Lopez out there, like, don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying, south of bantamweight, he's going to be one. There's no way to ever be the best, because everyone's fighting different eras, but he's going to be one of the greatest to ever do it. There's no doubt in my mind about that.
I'm going to make a bold statement. So in 2026, the pound for pound king is either going to still be Inoue. It's going to be Bam or Junto, the pound for pound king in 2026. Fair. I think it's going to play out. I think it all depends on how it plays out down there. Does Junto move up and go for Inoue and go for an all Japanese just super fight? That would be a super duper fight in Japan. 100%. Or does he stay at 118 and Bam moves up to 118? Or do both of those fights? I
want to see Junto become undisputed at 118. I want to see Bam become undisputed at 115. And if they want to fight after that, I think that'll be a mega fight, undisputed versus undisputed. And he could give Bam the shot at 118 for undisputed. You know what I mean? Everybody wins.
And that's why there's no rush for Inoue to move up. There really isn't. Just stay at 122, continue to move. I know a lot of people aren't excited for names like Sam Goodman and stuff like this, but and MJ Akhmadeli possibly in 2025. But I'm telling you, those are good fights until those super fights materialize. And those three guys right there can make for super fights in and around those weight classes.
Hey, Calix, so what do you like? Obviously, just before if somebody loses their minds, where's Usyk? I do not put heavyweights on my pound for pound list. If I did, he'd probably be 2 or 3. But nonetheless, here's my pound for pound list. What do you think?
Inoue, Crawford, Canelo, Bam. So just for the top 4, the only difference I had, obviously, I have Usyk in it, so I put Usyk 1, Inoue 2, Bud 3. And I think our difference is I now have Bam ahead of Canelo. I have Bam at 4. I have Bivol ahead of Canelo 2 at 5 because of the head-to-head, and Canelo now at 6. So that would be my only difference. Better Biev's on mine. Ioka's on mine. Junto is on mine too. I think I have Junto 7. I think I agree with you. I have Junto number 8 on mine. Teofimo and Tank aren't on mine.
Okay. You were not impressed with their performance, right? Like
No. I wasn't. I was impressed by Tank's performance, but like I said, it's got to be against.
I did notice your number 10 is vacant. How do you have a vacant spot?
I just don't. I feel
just give it to somebody. You know what I mean?
I know, but it's like I just don't feel like anybody's doing anything outside of those 9 I named and I feel like it was a stretch to put maybe number 9 on there, but I just don't feel like there was anybody worthy of number 10. I wanted badly to put Oscar Collazo on there, but the knockdown early in that fight scared me away because it wasn't a knockdown like Bam's fight. He was clearly buzzed in his fight in the first, second round. So Collazo looks the part, but I just need to see a little more from Collazo. I need to see Shakur put on great performances. I'm understanding that Shakur he doesn't have access to some of the top fighters because they don't want to fight him. I get that, but I still want to see him put on great performances against the opposition he's in there with.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you just said. Alex, I'm going to watch the fights. I'm going to watch Zepeda. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Zepeda.
Yes.
The Zepeda, how can I work this? He's going to fight someone who just fought that took Isaac Cruz to a controversial decision.
Yep.
We're talking about Cabrera, who looks nothing like his picture on Boxer. I like, what are we doing here? Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, you don't look like that, bro. Like, what's with all these filters, bro? Or I don't know what. But anyway, does he stop him? Will he do what Isaac Cruz didn't do?
I think so. I think Zepeda stops him and makes a statement on his way to being the mandatory for all 4 belts. And that's saying something. That means he's been putting in the work. He's been climbing those rankings. To me, he's the most exciting fighter in the sport. He's the when you look up action fighter, that's him. That's him. He's throwing over 100 punches per round. I mean, I call him the Mexican murder hornet because he just stings. He's been one of my favorite fighters in the sport for a couple of years now. I've just been waiting for. I felt like Golden Boy wasn't doing a great job with him, but they're there now. They're getting him more active. They have him in the right market. You're starting to see the buzz a little more at his fights, more people showing up because he's been a hidden gem in the sport. So I think he does destroy Cabrera in this fight. I'm not exactly sure when. The KO is minus 230 and he's minus 1450. He's all the way up to minus 1450. It was minus 1300 yesterday. So a huge favorite in this fight. And I think he makes a statement. And I hope he goes the route of Tank Davis, although it looks like Tank Davis versus Lomachenko is possible. So if not, go the route of Shakur Stevenson.
If Giovanni Cabrera goes in there, and I'm not trying to make excuses for Isaac Cruz, but he does have a very negative style. He tries to make fights ugly.
Yeah, you're right.
If he goes out there, he's being negative and if he tries that again, even if he does get knocked out, get him off my television.
Oh yeah.
I don't even know why Golden Boy's winning this fight, bro. There's a million fights that could have done better for Zepeda. Aside from, look, if Zepeda goes out and destroys Giovanni Cabrera, like just annihilates him in a couple of rounds, there is a little bit of clout they're going to get from the Isaac Cruz thing, a little bit. You know what I mean? Kind of like, oh, look, we did what Isaac Cruz couldn't do. Our Mexican's better than PBC's Mexican. What? Like, there's a little bit of that like thing. Like Isaac Cruz had all these excuses that the guy was running. Well, he tried to run from our guy, but you can run from this predator that's going to come after. He's the apex predator, 135, and so there's somewhere to go with that. However, bro, if he goes super negative and just doesn't want to engage, and he's probably not going to survive anyway, but it's still going to make for like, I don't know. I'm kind of worried that Giovanni Cabrera could stink up the joint and it'll just be a downer. And I just don't like downers, bro. I don't like fighters that fight in ways that are very like hard to watch. I don't want thinner in my eyes, bro. Like I want to just watch a fight. You know what I mean?
Here's the good news, though. I think Zepeda is such an overwhelming offensive fighter that it almost becomes impossible to stink him out in the way Cabrera could do it. Now Shakur is capable. Shakur could. That's why I love that fight. Is Shakur could mix up lateral movement with his caginess and his clinchiness, right, and try to chop up the fight and have some success stinking out the fight. But I don't think Cabrera has the ability to stink up this fight successfully against Zepeda. I don't think he can do it. He was successful with Isak. Isak's a little smaller than Zepeda, so he was able to have more success. Isak's got that smaller reach, smaller arms. It's not going to work against Zepeda. It's not going to work.
100%. And I'm looking forward to the Zepeda fight. Shakur Stevenson. Here's what I'll say, bro. If the Los Santos fight was horrible, and for anybody saying, "Oh, what do you mean that's bad?" They broke a record for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, like that. We cannot have that, bro. And guess what? Shakur's at that point. He's like that NFL player who's in that last few games. He's got to make his case, right? For either his team to resign him or another team to make an offer, right? That's where he is right now, right? Let's see what type of performance he puts up, because guess what? How you look is going to determine what Top Rank may or may not offer you, what Matchroom may or may not offer you, or if you want to be just independent like Devin Haney, with what the market is willing to offer you, what Turk Al-Sheikh's willing to offer you. He needs to go out there and make a statement, bro. That's what he needs to do this weekend.
Yep.
He just does. Great fighters make statements. You could fight skillful, because people always conflate it. Oh, you want him to go out there and rock him, sock him, and get knocked out. No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what Calix is saying.
Mm-mm.
There's a way to be skillful, right? But do it in a way, right, that's more entertaining. If you go into the line of fire and you're, still being defensive like Bam is, right? It's actually more skillful. You show people how much more skilled you are because you're able to do it in the line of fire, right? And I'm hoping that Shakur can have a great performance, get a big stoppage, or at least just outclass the guy so thorough that people are using terms like, "Oh, he's a magician in the ring. He's a freaking he's like a surgeon in there." Like, pick the guy apart. Do something that stands you out. Do something. I keep hearing, "Oh, you should be in the pound for pound." Show me why you belong in the pound for pound list. Okay, stop talking to me about, you can't expect him to walk guys down. Usyk walked down a dude that outweighed him by 40 pounds.
Yep.
Right? You can't do your size. I'm sorry. Right? If you can't take some risk, right, because your safety first, then I'm sorry. It's going to be hard for people to pay for you. Any last thoughts on the Shakur fight, Alex?
I'm in agreement. You have to entertain. You have to put on great performances. It's not just about keeping that O. And Ring IQ talked about that when he was with us on your channel a couple of weeks ago, right? Is it does look, the positive is it does look like this Mayweather era of keeping the O and all this stuff is starting to lose its ugly grip on the sport.
Yes.
And the fighters who hold on to that Mayweather era mentality are the ones that are going to lose. The ones who adopt this new mentality of let's fight the fights and let's try to entertain at the same time, those are the ones that are going to win. And I hope Shakur goes that route because he badly needs to. The Nakathila performance happened. That was an awful performance. A win, but an awful performance. De Los Santos, a win, but an awful, awful performance. I brought this up on my show a couple of days ago. These top-ranked main events come on after 1 a.m. East Coast already. And Shakur Stevenson has almost become like boxing's version of Dr. Kevorkian, right? He finishes the job.
God damn. You were getting on Drew about his super chat earlier?
It's like, dudes,
what's going on right now? Like you went mass with it. You went mass with it.
These style, like my eyes are weary. I'm already old. I'm trying to stay up to watch.
I said thinner in my eyes, bro.
I'm already underneath my blanket in a fetal position, struggling to still tweet. And Shakur comes on, and by the second round, I'm like, I don't care anymore. I don't even care anymore. It's sad when you don't even, a guy this special, that's that talented, you don't even care. It's like, that's it. But here's the thing. I think he knows he needs a great performance. Although negotiations have, I'm sure, have already started with other promoters and free agency. He officially becomes a free agent, and he may already have deals being orchestrated. But I think when you're going into free agency like this, you have to put on a great performance. There's pressure to do it. And that's why, and I'm still not decided on if this was a good move, but I did it anyway. I bet Shakur stoppage here at minus 135. I put that on Twitter yesterday. I showed the pay stub, the receipt. I bet $100 on it, just because something tells me Shakur is going to try to stop Artem in this fight. And Artem, I think, once again, he's made to order. 25. Shakur's a 25-1 favorite.
Plus, there's a way, right?
Artem's not as good as he showed against Frank, and it's just because Frank's not that good. And dudes try to build these fighters up because of their connection to Tank. I think that's all it is. And here's another thing I got to say, D-Style. I got to get this off my chest because Shakur's out there. And look, I like Bud, but Bud did the same thing. He's whining about Top Rank didn't do this for me and didn't do that for me. And Shakur is parroting those things because he's good friends with Bud. These guys, at some point, man, as a fighter, you got to make things happen for yourself. And Top Rank has put a lot of money behind this guy. They put a lot of marketing behind this guy, all for him to put on crappy performances. It's another turnoff with these young American fighters. Dude, at some point, try to knock somebody out. For the love of God, try to knock somebody out.
Yeah, but Bud was never like that boring. Like, I'm just saying,
Bud was fun. Bud was fun.
Yeah, but here's the thing, and I'm glad Nando brought this up. Shakur was defiant in the Rafael podcast this weekend. Blamed the fans for their lack of boxing knowledge. Look, I just don't understand this whole because they don't know boxing. That's why. like here's the thing, bro. If you don't have a paying public, if people don't watch you, then what are you going to do? Are you going to fight in empty arenas and do the sweet science in some empty arenas or what?
Yeah, no.
Like, what are we doing here? Like, I just don't. No, actually, you're wrong. You know what? I'm getting tired of all these professional boxers talking down on boxing fans that they don't know what they're talking about. Actually, we do know what we're talking about. Okay, we've been watching boxing our whole fucking life. All right. And we're the paying customer. So if we say you're boring, then you're boring. You don't get to say, oh, you think I'm boring because you don't understand the sport. No. Like either you're entertaining or you're not. And that's it. And if you're not entertaining, go whine about it to somebody like to Dan Rafael on his fucking podcast because you're not entitled to my money. Okay? You're not entitled to me paying a ticket to watch you fight. You're not entitled to me paying for a pay-per-view. You're not entitled to my viewership. If I want to go watch UFC, I could go do that. I'll go watch a fucking Sphere, motherfucker. Okay, I don't give a shit. I'll join Drew and talk about how UFC's taking over for all I care. I can do whatever I want. I could do it. Like the consumer could do whatever the fuck they want to do. And they want to boo, and they want to say you're boring, and they don't like your style. Too bad. Too fucking bad. I'm tired. I'm just tired of it. Oh, these fans. Like, What the fuck do you think the money comes from? What are you doing? Like, you can't go, like, if people start talking shit about a restaurant, you can, these people, they don't think our steaks are good because they don't understand the science that went into making this steak. Bro, your steak tastes like shit, bro. Okay? I don't need to be a chef to know that my steak tasted like crap. All right? No, but you don't understand how I sauteed it and how I did. I don't give a fuck, bro. You don't know the sweet science of making steaks. I don't give a fuck. It tastes like shit. All right? I look at something, I don't like it, I don't like it. And that is it. It's as simple as that, okay? And this has been going on for a long time. And I'm at a point, bro. I'm at a point where every time fighters get criticized, they want to attack the fans, right?
Yep.
So Shakur goes out there and he's like, see, that's why, man, I don't care what these fans think. They're going at Devin Haney right now, and for what? That's why, like, bro, like, what are we doing? Like, I just don't. That's part of the sport, bro. When a guy gets knocked out, and like that's just part of the game. Devin Haney participates in it. He's over there calling Russell trash, and which is his right to do. But that's the sport we're in. Okay, That's it. You don't know cooking. Like, well, what do you mean the steak's not good? Because you don't know, this is filet mignon. You don't understand. Like, give me a fucking T-bone steak. Shut the fuck up. All right? Yeah. Like, I'm just saying, bro. All right?
I'm with you.
Like, have you ever, like, had somebody try to convince you to eat tofu? Oh, like tofu's good for you, and like you know what I mean, like how it saves the environment. You don't understand how the animals are being slaughtered, and you don't understand, how this is good for your body and this is bad for this, and like that's how it feels. Like we're talked to, like when it's almost like they're forcing us to enjoy something we don't enjoy.
Yeah,
people are just convincing themselves, like because you don't understand the science that goes behind, these fighters when they're avoiding engagement. You know what I mean? They're being smart, and they're like, give me a fucking break, okay? All right. What did Nanda just say? This hamburger pita tastes good. Fuck your what? Michelin stars. Okay. Any final thoughts, Carlos?
Bam special fighter. Can't say it enough. Very appreciative of him as a boxing fan. Ryan's crazy. Ryan's clearly crazy, and I think we're in the middle of some tragic meltdown right now. Some very tragic meltdown that is not going to end well at all. And I hope that I'm wrong about that, but I think we're in the middle of some tragic meltdown. And as far as the fights going forward this weekend, Shakur needs to show out. And I parrot everything you just said. You got to entertain. You got to put on great performances. Bam has proven that. Fight the fights, put on great performances. And over time, people are going to be attracted to you and give you your props. And stop whining. For the love of God, man, can these dudes stop whining? These dudes whine about everything. Just like such a whiny, entitled group of fighters. Just stop whining. Can you please just stop? None of this is attractive as a boxing fan. Just stop whining. Stop all the gnashing of teeth. And then William Zepeda, great for the sport. One of the best action fighters in the sport. And I think the most exciting fighter in the sport. Human highlight reel. And I think he's going to show out this weekend. But my surprise prediction is Shakur stoppage. I think he gets a stoppage. And I'm betting on it. Minus 135.
Yeah, I could look. I could get behind that. And look, me,
I'm a hard-working man.
I work for my money.
Yep.
People work for their money. I get it that boxers, they go in there. That's why I love the sport to begin with. I know the sacrifice boxers put, and I know the sacrifice and the hard work and the dedication, the blood, sweat, and tears. That's why I love the sport to begin with, right? I get that. But a lot of us work for, just like you work for your money, and you want to get paid, and you want to be paid what you're worth, and all that, okay? Us boxing fans, we work for our money too. All right. A lot of us work in the hot sun. A lot of us deal with stressful jobs. A lot of us there's many people out there living paycheck to paycheck. Okay. They're putting in work. They're sacrificing time away from their families to work. Some people work out of town, whatever it is, right? Stop talking down to boxing fans. Stop talking down to the people that buy tickets to go watch you fight. Stop talking down to the people that are actually watching your shit. Okay? Like it's getting stupid at this point, right? And when like because they don't know boxing. Well, boxing fans don't know boxing. I guess nobody does, right? Like you don't need to be an expert in the sport to know whether or not something's entertaining to you. You just don't, right? Yep. And we all know what boxing at its best looks like, all right? We know what it is. So just talk to people and ask them, why did you become a boxing fan, right? They'll always point to a fight. They'll always point to something that attracted them to the sport. It was a hook, line, and sinker that got them hooked up, right? And that's all I will say about that. With that said, this is D-Style Boxing. See you guys next week. Happy 4th of July. Peace.
God bless.